Welcome to another edition of ASHE. I'm your host, Imakhu We're joined again by our guest, Sister Karen Hatter, jumping right in. And we're discussing a topic today that has been pretty prevalent in the news. We're going to be talking about the human papillomavirus and the proposed vaccine. Now, there are commercials that you'll see on TV that one less commercial where they're really advocating young girls going out and getting the vaccine for the human papillomavirus. Well, we're going to talk about all the particulars that go along with that. It's supposed to help to protect against cervical cancer. A lot of women are very well aware of what cervical cancer is about. But let's just jump right into this, Sister Karen. Let's talk about this, because you did have this article that was published in the Final Call, and that was the February 20th edition, dealing with this subject. And of course, we also have a piece running on our station, on AKERU New African Network, dealing with this issue. First of all, what was it about this that made you feel the need to share information with the public about it?
Well, when I first heard about the vaccine, I was curious, mainly because it sounded as if there was some sort of an urgent need, like there was like I said, some kind of an epidemic sweeping the nation, and that's why they had come out with this vaccine. And in the course of investigating, I found out that it's only a little over, according to the American Cancer Society's own estimates, they're saying that this year they expect to be just a little over 3,000 women who die of cervical cancer. Now, of course, those 3,000, of course, that's a loss. But the idea is that there are going to be over 200,000 cancers of all types that are going to be killing more women. So the idea is, well, there's such a small number compared to other cancers that are killing more women.
So why the sudden focus on this?
So why the sudden focus on this? Now, if I may, I would like to give a brief history of how we've come into all this genetic technology.
Absolutely.
Okay. In 1990, the Department of Energy and the National Institutes of Health began mapping the human genome. And in 2003, they completed the mapping according to, what it is that they wanted to do, what they wanted to accomplish. Now, around 1999, I believe it was, maybe 98, there was a consortium of drug companies that came together. And they also were involved in mapping the human genome. But what has happened, what has evolved out of that is they actually came together as one entity. And between the two of them, the drug consortium and the Department of Energy and the National Institutes of Health, together they have all been exploring the human genome and mapping the genome. Now, what has arisen out of this partnership is that the Human Genome Project, aside where the Department of Energy and National Institutes of Health are working together, we're all familiar with the graphic of deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, the twisted ladder chain, right? Well, what's happening is the government agencies, they have focused on identifying the rungs on the ladder, and the drug companies are focusing on trying to determine which how the rungs of the ladder are attached. You have the rung, and on either side is connected to the ladder, right? Well, the drug companies are focusing on the connection. That's called single nucleotide polymorphisms, or SNPs for short. So they're focusing, the government is determining which genes do what. And the drug companies are focusing on the SNPs, on the edges, and that's how they're developing these particular drugs that supposedly target this, that, and the other thing, and that's how they're able to genetically engineer these things.
All right.
Now, having said all of that, the first thing that I learned during this investigation was that GlaxoSmithKline, which is the company that also has a genetically engineered human papillomavirus vaccine that they're trying to get licensing for probably sometime this year. Theirs is called Cervarix. Merck's is called Gardasil, and that's the one that's being marketed now.
Okay, these are products that address what?
They're supposed to prevent human papillomavirus virus growth, which could eventually turn into cancer.
Okay, well, since you brought that up, why don't you break down for our audience exactly what the human papillomavirus is?
Well, the human papillomavirus is something that's naturally occurring in terms of women get it rather frequently. It occurs quite often. It usually, of course, shows up, it is involved in sexual transmission. That's the only way that you get it, right? That's the only way that you can get it.
And from my understanding, it is generally passed from the man to the woman.
Yes, but I don't know whether or not it originates from him, but he can definitely spread it around. You know, and but the main thing about the human papillomavirus is they're viruses that occur naturally in the body, kind of, but they will not. It takes anywhere from like 20 to 30 years usually for them to grow to become a cancer.
So okay, now these are naturally occurring viruses.
That's what it's. I'm sorry, I misstate that. It's more like, you know how we all have some kind of bacteria in our body?
Right.
Well, these are viruses. I'm sorry, they're not naturally occurring, but these viruses will exist in our body with no harm. Okay. Okay. And it was in the course of, you know, trying to find out, well, what is so terrible and all of that about these, where I had gone to, I found this paper, and this paper is written by the American Society for Colposcopy and Cervical Pathology, the American Society for Colposcopy and Cervical Pathology. Now, they list as sources for their information, among them the National Cancer Network, National Cancer Society, the National HPV Cervical Cancer Resource Center, etc. Now, in this paper, it says, first of all, they have questions that, you know, what if my results are and that kind of thing. But it says, will I have the HPV virus forever? And the response is probably not. HPV infection is very common, but it usually goes away within 1 to 2 years. Now, key points, under key points, it says that cervical cancer is preventable. Early detection of abnormal cell changes is important. So the pap smears, right? But number 2 says almost all women will have HPV at some point, but very few will develop cervical cancer. The immune system of most women will usually suppress or eliminate HPV. Now, if this is something that it's only a very rare kind of an occurrence, I don't understand what's the hullabaloo. What's, you know. Now, what I find out is that in February of 2005, Merck and GlaxoSmithKline entered into an agreement where they have what are called cross-license and settlement agreement for certain patent rights, because both of them were working with the same HPV types. I believe it was 6 and 16, and there are 2 others. I think 18 and 24, I believe, are the others. So they actually entered into an agreement. Now, what is most significant in my mind is the fact that GlaxoSmithKline received a payment from Merck up front for kind of stepping over on their toes regarding, because remember, when they identify these genes, they actually get patents for them. So any drug company, if they have a patent on something, the other drug company must get permission from them to, you know, work on it or whatever and pay them. Okay, so GlaxoSmithKline has actually received payment up front, but the key point is that they also will receive royalties from Merck from the selling of the Gardasil vaccine.
Wait, okay, so First of all, I'm still trying to deal with the fact that they have a patent on a human gene.
Yeah, they have. Hey.
A company can claim ownership over. It's like, I mean,
it's a splitting of hairs issue that I cannot fully explain. It's more of we can't own the gene, but we can own the process that we use to do whatever it is that we do to the gene to develop what we're doing. It's like that.
So then.
So if you have a patent on a gene, say you found a gene for bald hair, okay, being bald, okay, and I want to work on trying to eliminate baldness, right? Well, I have to go to you to get permission to work with it for that. Now, if I want to use the same gene, but I'm looking at something else and it's not related to baldness, right? I want to use. I'm not trying to find an anti-bald cure. I think that this gene somehow or another can be good for something else, right? The idea is supposedly, as long as I'm not using it to try to cure baldness, I don't have to go through you. But it's real technical and complicated.
Well, see, now even up front with that, I'm just thinking, all right, so this company owns the patent on everything related to this gene. Now, suppose some well-meaning person out in Oshkosh, Idaho, just comes up with something generally beneficial in terms of how to help to correct the situation and so forth. You mean that he has got to get permission from this company in order to, you can't even share
like
anything.
I said, that gets into the the penalties phase of that, and I'm not really clear, but it sounds to me that minimally that guy in Oshkosh, but wherever, would end up having to pay or give part of his profits to whomever it is that owns that gene. That's the way that's working. And so,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. That's a legitimate question, because that's the first thing I said. How in the world do you own a human gene? How do you do that? But what is happening is the substance that they have created, the vaccine that they have created, is actually a genetically engineered protein. And somehow or another, this protein will prevent the growth of the viruses. It's a chemical thing, and I don't really even quite understand in terms of how it stops the viruses. I'm assuming it cuts off their nutrition some kind of way. I don't know. But like I said, what I found the most interesting about this is the fact that according to this deal, because this is from the Drug Pipeline News as of September of 2000. Now remember, it was November of 2000 when they started the Gardasil One Less campaign that's been running rampant all over the television. And it's in print and it's on the internet as well. Now, Merck signed off on this deal, like I said, in February 2005. And so in addition to paying up front, the royalties are going to total, the royalties that Merck will be paying to GlaxoSmithKline once Gardasil has been put on the market is supposed to total 24 to 26% of the sales of the drug Gardasil. Now, see, my concern is as consumers and those in need of medical care, we have to be mindful of how and why products are pushed at us. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a straight up profit motive thing going on here. If you have GlaxoSmithKline and Merck joining in collusion together, if you will, they have HPV vaccines that they want to release, right? Well, Merck's got theirs out there first. But meanwhile, Glaxo said, well, wait a minute, we're working on this too. You got to give me some money up front, and we want 24 to 26% of the profits of your sales, okay? So do you think that there's a very high motivation for Merck to push this stuff? Now, it turns out that according to Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology News, they're saying that this is a summation of Merck's profit that they expect, the growth for the year. This is from like 2006, and they also make a kind of a projection, right? So this was entitled, Merck announces 2006 financial results and demonstrates solid revenue growth. And it says the total sales recorded by Merck for Gardasil, the company's cervical cancer vaccine, were $155 million for the fourth quarter and $235 million for the year. Gardasil has been approved in 52 countries, all under accelerated reviews, with regulatory applications pending in more than 50 countries. Gardasil is the only vaccine approved to prevent cervical cancer and vulvar vaginal precancers caused by human papillomaviruses types 16 and 18, and to prevent the low-grade and precancerous lesions and genital warts caused by HPV types 6, 11, 16, and 18. Now, on November 1st, this is 2006, this is the very day that Gardasil began its advertising campaign. Gardasil was added to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Vaccines for Children program for eligible girls and women ages 9 to 18. Typically, about half of all childhood vaccines purchased in the United States are through this program. Since the addition of Gardasil to the Center for Disease Control's list, 50 out of the 55 Vaccine for Children programs have ordered Gardasil.
What is the track record for side effects? I mean, it has not been on the market that long.
It's not. This is the first time it went on the market. It was only on that's the whole point. This drug was created with a study group of 25,000 women and girls.
And my understanding is that it really does not address that high of a percentage of all the varieties of HPV.
No, they're saying that it definitely prevents cancer for 2 of these HPV viruses, 6 and 16. And there are 2 others, I believe it's 18, and I forget the other number. Those are responsible for some other things that are not necessarily cancerous, but it'll take care of those as well. But there are a total of over 30 human papilloma viruses that they've identified as being cancer causing. There are over 100 human papilloma viruses, period, but it's around a little bit more over 30 that supposedly cause cancer.
And even within that, it's still a very small percentage.
It's still a very small percentage that the vaccines actually will, take care of and address.
And again, talking from the very beginning of where we were, that this is not and has not previously been considered that big of a threat.
No. Well,
not saying that something.
No. I understand. Yeah. Excuse me. You're right. It's mind-boggling to me. It says that this is a report issued from the Weekly Standard, and it says that 3,670 deaths from cervical cancer expected this year are a tiny fraction of the 270,000 projected female deaths from all cancers, right? Now, they're saying that the incidence of cervical cancer has gone down tremendously, right? They're saying since, Pap smears have come about and everyone is going to get one, they're saying that it's been dropping dramatically ever since 1973. And so we've gotten to the point where the only cancers, and it's one of the only cancers among the top 15 that have decreased across the board, women of all races and ethnicities, right? And they're saying that cervical cancer deaths declined steadily from 5.6 per 100,000 in 1975 to 2.5 in 2003. Now, here you have a situation where statistics, these are statistics from the American Cancer Society. Statistics are bearing out that cervical cancer is declining in the so-called developing world. That means the United States. Now, they do have a really big problem in countries where they're still developing. They have higher statistics of death overseas, in Africa, Latin America, and parts of Asia. But of course, you can't make money over there. And I'm sorry, that's what this is. This is pure money profit. I do not say that there's anything wrong with the technology that's giving us this tool. I say that the urgency, where they're ready to stomp on people's rights to choose based on the fact that they're going to insist to try to, they've already got legislators in 20 states are considering making it mandatory to vaccinate girls with the vaccine.
Again, the craziness that comes to my mind is not only the the urgency, which seems very trumped up, but also the fact that this has not had any kind of a track record. I mean,
No.
look at how many times there have been things that are just thrust into the market, and then years later, after somebody's growing an arm out of their forehead, you know, that people realize,
say, oh, that was
oops.
a good idea. We shouldn't have put that out there. Well, see, that's the problem, and that's the exact issue. The scientists in the field of genetic engineering, they all say they have no idea what will happen down the road in terms of introducing these things. Genetically engineered vaccines and drugs have been around for quite a while, a long time. As soon as they started unlocking these so-called secrets back in 1990, you know, they've been slowly altering something and putting it out there. The problem is, like you said, track record. We have a situation where as far as I think in my piece on the station, I had quoted that the American College of Pediatricians, they're saying that it was no more than 4 years that they tracked any of the study participants that were given this particular drug, right? It hasn't even been a full 5 years. It was 4 years, 2 to 4 years that they did any kind of follow-up on you know, those that were given the vaccine. And the American College of Pediatricians have recommended at their website that anyone who gets the vaccine, they should be told that, quote, the vaccine's potency and duration of protection, unquote, they haven't really been tested. They have not, there's no way to tell how long it lasts because they didn't do those kinds of studies.
As a parent, I would be very reluctant to have something like that introduced into my child's body.
Oh, well.
Developing at that.
A developing body at that. When we all know that in adolescence and pre-adolescence, the whole hormonal thing is changing, you know, you have no idea what would happen.
Well, the testing, who did they do the testing with? I mean, was that
they did the testing in 33 countries on 25,000 women. I have not yet found a list of the women that were participants in the study.
Ages, no age?
Yes, the ages were, for the Merck trials, there were 20,541 women ages 16 to 26, and girls 9 to 15, and it was 1,121 girls. Now, I have not, I'm assuming, and probably I'm making an error in assuming, but normally where they test these things are in the third world somewhere. Mm-hmm. Heavy in Latin America and Africa, and but
although having been a lab rat for well, I mean,
there you are.
I have epilepsy. I've shared this with the audience before, and over the last 9 years, and by the way, I'm not on medication now because of all of the side effects and so forth. I've been stabilizing it from an holistic standpoint. But anyway, and not knocking anybody who is on medication, but all I can do is speak to my experience, and I can tell you at one point my epileptologist had asked if I would be part of the study, these new medications that were being introduced to the market, et cetera, et cetera.
And I can you sharing that
yes,
with me.
And being a lab rat is hell, trust me. But it's very hard for me to imagine subjecting children.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because the National Vaccine Information Center, which is the really the oldest non-profit parent-led organization. They've been campaigning against just, you know, we got a new vaccine, let's make it mandatory and give it to the children. They've been campaigning against that. They're not saying don't get vaccinated. They're just saying that there's this automatic thrust as soon as a vaccine is discovered to add it to the regimen. You know, I think within, I remember another personal story. My daughter was diagnosed with a very rare kind of condition, so she was required to stay in the hospital for a week after she was born. And after the day of that they were going to discharge us, this is when they had first come up with the hepatitis B vaccine. They had not incorporated into the system of, you know, shots for the child yet, right? But they were telling me how it was a good thing that I considered giving my infant daughter, who was not 10 days old yet, that I, you know, think about giving her this hepatitis B shot because in the long run, down the road, when she became sexually active, if she was exposed to it, I said, well, hey, you know, my baby's not even 10 days old yet. I'm not worried about her getting it on with nobody. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just thought that was silly as far as I was concerned. Well, now, as we know, the hepatitis B vaccine is in the regimen that the children have to receive. Now,
with just a couple of minutes left, what is it that people can do in order to find out more about this, and also if they have strong feelings about it, to also make their voices known?
Well, I would recommend that they go to the National Vaccine Information Center website to get information just about their rights as it pertains to vaccinating their child. Parents do have certain rights that they can forego getting vaccines if they're concerned and worried. I would suggest that at this juncture, contacting, if you have any questions about it, and you have a legislature that's doing this, buffaloing it through all kinds of channels to make it mandatory for distributing children, I would suggest that they contact any representatives and have them set up meetings with parents so they can explain to them why it's necessary. And this is considered a very rare kind of, all of the literature says that it's a very rare condition. And this particular, before we go, this particular vaccine, the parent-led organization that I told you about, they're reporting neurologically adverse reactions such as loss of consciousness, something called syncope, which is defined as temporary loss of consciousness due to inadequate blood flow and lack of oxygen, and related syncopal events and seizures. Now, these are not, of course, they're not telling anybody about these particular things that are occurring with this.
You don't hear any of that on the commercials.
Oh, no, no, no.
Even in the day when we have, the
the
different medications being pushed, and then you have, side effects may include.
Side effects may include.
You don't hear any of that on
No, you don't hear any of that. And the main thing that concerned me is that Gardasil is out there now getting ready to be marketed, but GlaxoSmithKline is now, as of February, started a study where they're studying and comparing their vaccine against Gardasil, and that means that anyone taking that particular Gardasil right now, whether they know it or not, they will be part of the trial study in the United States.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this information to us again, Sister Karen.
You're welcome.
And, well, I say again, but I mean for you being here again and you're bringing this information to us. Sister Karen Hatter, who is social commentator for AKERU New African Network and can be reached at our AKERU website, which is www.akeruradio.com. Go to the link. You'll find her bio page, as well as information for how to buy her CD, which contains her social commentary, her show Inside the Eye of the Storm.
My commentary on this is on there as well.
Yeah, including the commentary on this very topic. And to find out more information in general about AKERU New African Network, you can call me at 646-713-8650. I'm the owner of the station, and I run it. But also, we co-host a show on the station called New African Perspectives, dealing with topical news issues from a New African perspective. Join me next week. I am your host, Imakhu Mutshekomet. Thank you for joining me here on ASHE. Visit my website at, say it with me now, www.mwtshekmet.org. Claim your personal power. Shemotep, ASHE.